Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about astrology in the FedEx shooting. It took place in Indianapolis, Indiana. It was approximately 11. It was a little bit after 11 p.m. on. It was last night. It was on April 15, 2021. There's confirmed at least 8 people have died. I believe there's also some people that were injured. It's sad that we're getting, an inordinate amount of these mass shootings in the United States. If I remember correctly, I saw something on the internet that stated it was like 45 of these mass shootings that we've had in like the last month or so, and it's just getting preposterous. These things. I was sarcastically talking to somebody earlier, and I said, if you want peace, tranquility, or whatever, then I guess come to the United States. And the thing about it is, this is something, this has just gone on for way too long, and it seems like it's almost like this norm now, and I don't know if it's something that can really be controlled or contained, but I'm going to talk in the video about transits and I'm talking about the chart, the event chart, I should say, the event chart of the shooting and what aspects or what have you and placements may have been tied into this. Now, I used 11:05 p.m. as an approximate time for this event because when I was researching this on the internet, it was stated it was a little bit after 11, shortly after 11 p.m. So I'm using 11:05 p.m. First, I want to say though, my condolences and prayers do go out to the close friends and family members of the people that had died as a result of this heinous shooting. The shooter, I don't know if I did not see the name of the shooter, but apparently he had shot himself after this. So I guess you could say there would be 9 confirmed dead if you're including the shooter. Now, in this event chart, I'm seeing that the ascendant is, of course, the sun was in Aries at this time. Sun and being in Aries is at it's at 26, if I'm reading it right, 26 degrees, which is a critical, it's a critical degree if I'm saying this correctly. And the thing is 20, and of course the focus, Aries is the sign associated with volatility, gunfire. The thing about this too is the moon was in Gemini at the time of the shooting. It was very close to the we're going to see something momentarily, people. It's very close to the fixed star Aldebaran, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that position in astrology, Aldebaran is something that could be very, it could be volatile. In some cases, it may denote murder. It can be connected with causing dissension. It's a warmongering position, an instigating position, and it was conjunct the North Node at this time, which makes you wonder if there was something sadly that was like really very preordained with this energy that it was going to happen, and there wasn't going to be much anyone was going to be able to do to curtail this. And the thing about this too, when I'm looking at this as well, it's just looking at this chart. Sadly, you have Scorpio as the ascendant, and Scorpio energy, of all the zodiac signs, negatively manifested, I would say, is the most corrupt, criminal. Could be nefarious energy, very surreptitious energy. Based on the 11:05 p.m. time I use, it's at the ascendant is at 29 degrees Scorpio, which we can see as 29 degrees I see as the full culmination and expression of that sign. So this is something where you could have very powerful surreptitious energy, sinister energy that's diabolical. it's something too, and maybe even vengeful energy as well. And that's when you look at the ascendant in an event chart. Of course, that's what reflects the face of the event. And the thing about this too, I'm looking at this as well. Very, I mean, some other placements in the chart, and interestingly enough, they have, I mean, in this event chart, Pisces falls on the fourth house cusp with Neptune in the fourth house. The fourth house in astrology can be connected with the end of life, and this person did take his own life through suicide by shooting himself. Pisces is the sign connected with suicide. Neptune, again, is also in that fourth house. Neptune is associated uh, with suicide. And the thing about this too is the fact you have Mars squaring Neptune in this event chart, and that could be an indicator of, I mean, Neptune Pisces energy could be about surrendering. Mars squaring it is obviously could be an indicator of being adversarial toward this. Now, there was another chart I had talked about when I believe that was Dante Wright, his murder, his death. And remember, they had the same aspect in that chart. Neptune was square Mars. He was fleeing in a vehicle. Gemini was associated, of course, with short journeys, with driving. That's how that aspect manifested, I believe, in that particular instance. But in this case, you're talking about, I mean, Neptune squaring Mars, and it just generally, I think you had the energy that was adversarial toward surrendering. Mars, I mean, again, it's somebody associated, with. I mean, this is obviously gun. Mars is connected with gunfire as well, and this is done. And then again, I mean, somebody that wasn't going to surrender to a shooting that took place. And the thing about it is you have all these planets, you have all that energy in Gemini, in the seventh house, and of open adversaries. You're talking about, and it's in the dual sign Gemini, very mercurial energy to say the absolute least. And this is something too you have in this chart. Mars is in conjunct Pluto. When you're talking about in conjuncts in astrology, they can be about adjustments. You might have too much of one thing or too much of another. Sadly, it's another, in this aspect was also transpiring in that Dante Wright shooting. And in this case, well, you have Pluto being in Capricorn. It's at a critical degree. It's at 26 degrees Capricorn. Maybe there wasn't enough power of authority in this particular case, but it could also be manifested in having too much ability to premeditate and plan a murder. Capricorn, of course, is premeditative energy, and Pluto is associated with murder and death. And Mars, you could look at that as being connected with law enforcement and not being able to maybe outthink, being in Gemini, outthink this situation. And the problem is, and regardless of transits, people, it's safe to say, I mean, a lot of this is going to be very hard to curtail or derail. And these things, you don't know when somebody's going to be doing something, or planning some kind of some kind of attack like this. And there should be some kind of statute that should be around in terms of having people being permitted to have firearms, and checking their mental health, and making sure that making it compulsory that a mental health evaluation is done before allowing people to carry guns. Now, this shooter might have been carrying the gun illegally at something that I don't know at this point in time, But looking at some other placements in this chart and how it might have been tied in to his to this mass shooting. Well, what I want to say is the thing is you have two planets in Aries, one and then Chiron in Aries. Chiron, of course, uh, can be connected with suffering. It can be about wounds. You're talking about being in volatile Aries. Aries, the sign associated with gunfire. It's in the fourth house of the end of life. The Sun, sadly, in Aries, is squaring Pluto at this time, and you're at the time of this event. So naturally, when you have adverse aspects that are hitting, that are hitting Aries energy, and you have in this case Pluto is the planet associated with death and murder. A lot of times they will not manifest well, of course, and um, can bring out a lot of the negative energy connected. In this case, with the Sun being in Aries and then Pluto um, being in being in Capricorn. When you hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that. I'm back. But anyway, when you have the Sun in astrology making an adverse aspect to Pluto, it can reflect where somebody may not really be able to get enough power that they want. And this is uh, this is something. And Pluto being in Capricorn, Pluto, I mean, this, even though generational, can manifest in killings that are done in very cold fashion, undemonstrative fashion, that are very callous, calculating, premeditative. Uh, and being the Sun in Aries, Sun of course in Aries can have a focus on when you're talking about electionally, Sun and Aries can have a focus on things that are of a volatile and violent and truculent nature. And when you have, and you also, the Sun is conjunct Mercury, and in this case, um, you're talking about the Sun being the focus, and there could be a focus, and this may have manifested in a focus on very volatile thinking at this time, because you have the Sun being about focus conjoining Mercury, which is about thinking, and you also have it being in Aries. The fact that the Mercury is also falls falls before the Sun. When Mercury is before the Sun, whether it's natally or it's in an event chart, generally that's more premeditative energy. It's thinking before acting. So this was something to me that was likely planned out, and a lot of this, the fact that Pluto is in Capricorn, though generational, is an indicator at this point in time in society. What we're dealing with are deaths that are very strongly premeditated, and they're planned out before they actually happen. The zodiac sign Cancer is on the eighth house cusp of death and murder in this chart. So this is something where, of course, this death was going to cause a lot of more emotional unrest at this time, more so than in a lot of other instances. And you're looking at having Pisces on the fourth house cusp. The fourth house in astrology can be connected with emotional security. Pisces is the sign of dissolving and dissipation, and it's also you're talking about Neptune being in that fourth house as well in the event chart, so that could indicate another indicator of the dissolving of that energy in this, based on this event. But it could also have been done due to something that was very chaotic. And uh, this is just again, this is just something that uh, sadly is almost becoming like a norm in the United States. And it's really, I mean, it's just something that these are very heinous crimes. And I do feel for President Joe Biden because he's getting bombarded with not only, it's not just the simple fact that he's bombarded with one mass shooting to address after another, but the fact is too is that this is going to be something that could be overwhelming for him because he's going to have to try to figure out, formulate something soon in order to try to curtail further shootings. So this is something that obviously he's going to have to, look into, and it's like you don't even have time to recover. It's like a boxer that's getting hit relentlessly. You're trying to recover from one blow or one punch, but then another one is thrown at you, and this is just something that's very tragic. And again, I do want to reiterate, I do offer my prayers and condolences to the close friends and family members of the people that that perished sadly. Another thing I wanted to add in this event chart: most of the planets are on the bottom half of the chart, so this is something which was harder to be. I guess you could say there weren't probably many witnesses that actually saw this. That will be divulged and revealed later on. This did take place late at night. It was shortly after 11 p.m. according to what I had researched online. And you're talking about the ascendant being in Scorpio, being at 29 degrees. The face of this this event. I mean, you're talking about Scorpio, the sign of darkness and death, and sadly, I mean, this resulted in at least, well, if you're counting the shooter, 9 people confirmed dead, 8 people confirmed dead as at this point from the shooter, and him apparently shooting himself, for a total of 9 people. In having And I noticed too that these planets, all the planets in this chart, fall within about 150, roughly 150 degrees of each other. And when you have planets, that cluster planets that are concentrated in a relatively small space, it shows a greater focus and concentration of energy and not allowing extraneous things to interfere with what you're doing. And I think that's how that might have manifested in this case. Now Mars in Gemini does have the square from Neptune, and has the inconjunct to the Scorpio ascendant, but no oppositions to it. So it makes you wonder if that might have made this easier for the shooting to be carried out. And Pluto has no oppositions to it either, but it does have some squares to the Sun and Mercury, and also early Venus and Taurus as well. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.